Now, you are an agent and an investor. Like you, I started as an investor and then became an agent. And I know a lot of investors, they're intrigued with this idea of should I become an agent? What would you say the pros and cons are to wearing both hats?
So I actually had this conversation with somebody not too long ago, but if you're really wanting to get into investing, like that's going to be the priority, I would probably not get your real estate license. And maybe that's different than what a lot of people say, but there's so many rules and regulations around being an agent and an investor. So like if you're going to be doing mass mailings to like homes or distressed properties or people who are behind on their taxes or their mortgage, and you're an agent as well, and even if you own an entity or an LLC, but you're an owner of that LLC, you have to have a disclaimer on the bottom that says, Shae Spitz is a member of this entity and is a licensed agent in the state of Nebraska. Well, that will automatically, for a lot of buyer or sellers, disregard your postcard. For whatever reason, they don't really like agents. Their mindset is like, well, you know what fair market value is, and you're going to try and come in and undercut me. So I have felt that that was a downfall when you do have your real estate license and you want to be an investor. Now, for me, I'm more of an agent and I have investments on the side. There's a huge benefit to that too. I just purchased one back in November for $172,000. Now keep in mind, I worked with this individual for a year about listing his house, and then he got to the point of being behind on 6 months, and it was such a tragedy. We put like $6,000 to $8,000 into it, sold it 2 months later for $225,000. So like because I was an agent, I got that lead because he initially called me the year prior to sell his house. That's a whole thing in its own, but one of the things that I have to put on the purchase agreement is seller understands the buyer is a licensed real estate agent in the state of Nebraska. The other thing that I'll do as well is seller also understands that they would net more money by putting the property on the market at fair market value. Because I'm like just making sure I'm covering all bases because I don't want anybody to come back to me and be like, you manipulated him, you took advantage of him. I'm like, no, here, like I'm putting it all out there. Whereas if you're not a real estate agent, you don't have to do all of those things.
Yeah.
And if you don't, and you're a real estate agent, you could get into trouble or, I'm not going to risk my license. So there's definitely pros and cons depending on, are you wanting to be more of an investor or do you want to be more of an agent and have investments on the side? Not super clear,
Yes.
but that's just like my opinion and outlook on it. And because I probably could have taken the investor side a lot more serious, but because I have a lot more restrictions and rules and regulations, I didn't. I've purchased properties, yes, but I make sure that it's very clear that I'm an agent and all of those things. Like I'm going to be selling one of my properties off market and the buyer came to me about buying it, and I'm going to make sure I'm very clear. Buyer understands that agent is an owner. Buyer understands that agent is a licensed real estate agent. Whatever I can do to make sure that there's full transparency, they know that I'm still going to encourage inspections. I'm still going to encourage all of these things because I've never lived on the property. You do your thing. But you have to put more of those things out there as an agent, whereas if you weren't an agent, you don't have to worry about that.